No.
I was just making sure my levels were spiking.
Yeah, I got you.
Hey folks, thanks for joining us here on Wave Now. We are going to be going to Clarksville Police here shortly, where they're giving us an update on a case, a man that was arrested connected to a double homicide. So this is some information that we have on it. I put a link on the stream on wave3.com so you can get some background information. But what we know that is a suspect in a 2013 double murder in Clarksville was located in an ICE facility in Georgia in July. In October of 2013, according to police, officers were called to the scene of a house fire on North Randolph Avenue. Two men, Miguel Rodriguez Soles and Julio Cesar Ventura Monzon, they were found stabbed to death inside a home as crews were trying to put out a fire at that residence. Detectives did collect DNA evidence from that scene, and they were searching for a third person, a person who lived at that home as well but was missing. That third person remained missing until July of 2025. That's Carlos Alberto Bonilla Senegalles. I think that's how you say the last name. I think I'm saying it incorrectly. But he's being held at a ICE facility in Georgia. So Clarksville Police are giving us an update on this case. Let's listen in.
Oh, there's a bright light. Somebody brought it.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Mm-hmm.
He practices at home with a light like that.
I do,
Bathroom.
but it's a ring
Looks in
light,
the
you know.
mirror and interviews himself.
I'm an influencer on the side. That's where I make majority of my
Influencer.
they make majority of my money.
Sorry, folks. There's just a little joking around before the press conference. But again, we're
much
just
easier
waiting
when
for
I'm doing
this
it by myself.
press conference to start here. So I apologize. I thought they were starting when I switched over to it. But here, just stand by and wait for us, please.
You guys let me know. First of all, good morning to everybody. Usually I'm used to church where I say good morning and everybody else says
Good morning.
love that. Give me a little bit of personality here. So I'm Corporal Kraft. I'm a detective with Clarksville Police Department, and I'm also the public information officer, so it is my great honor to be doing this today. So before anybody asks, no, I did not work this case. It happened in 2013. For reference, I was still in high school. So with that being said, I am going to go kind of get into an overview of the case, and then as far as questions go, I have the privilege of handing that off to Chief Walls. So as stated in the press release, on October 9th, 2013, officers were called to 436 North Randolph Avenue in Clarksville. During the course of the fire being fought, two bodies were discovered inside the home. And throughout that investigation, it was determined that both of those individuals had been stabbed to death. So one individual had stab wounds on over 90% of his body, and the other individual had stab wounds on over 95% of his total body surface. So I think it would be prudent to say that this was a brutal double murder. Over the course of their investigation, those detectives determined that there was a third resident inside that home who resided there, probably what some would say in a roommate capacity. They were not related. So that third individual was not able to be located after the crime was discovered, and eventually that person left the state of Indiana. So during their initial investigation, officers collected DNA samples from the scene that would be pertinent to the case, obviously. And eventually, this individual, Mr. Alberto Carlos Bonilla Cananguez, was arrested in 2025 in Georgia by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. During the course of their investigation on the arrest of Mr. Bonilla, his information was flagged as a suspect in our case. So eventually, Immigration and Customs Enforcement got a hold of us and told us what was going on. We had a detective go down there and take a DNA sample from Mr. Bonilla. And then that was ultimately sent off to our lab, where it was a match. Does anybody have, am I missing anything for anybody?
You said October 9th. This handout says October 10th. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, so the report was on October 9th. So,
Do you know how much time it was from when he was detained by ICE initially to they got a hold of you?
no, I don't know the exact time frame, but it was a relatively short amount of time. I don't know how many people they're processing down there, but eventually all their information gets input into the system. So, as far as the overview goes, I'm done with my portion. I'm going to hand it off to Chief Walls to answer additional questions.
Clarify the name. Is it Alberto Carlos Bonilla Cananguez or Carlos Alberto?
Carlos Alberto Bonilla Cananguez, yeah.
So this is a typo here?
Yeah, should be. This one, the handout? Okay. Sorry about that. Don't want anybody to get confused.
So Carlos is the first name, Alberto?
Yes, yes. Chief?
Hello, I'm Chief Walls, Clarksville Police Department. If we have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer.
I'm confused about the need for the DNA in this case. You already had a named suspect. You knew it was him. Why was DNA important here?
Well, DNA is important because it was a match for the murder weapon, and it was also a match under fingernails of the victim, so that would help lead to a struggle. And, you know, if you've got my DNA under your nails, it's generally an indication that there's been some sort of struggle or you're trying to fight me off.
What was the murder weapon in this case?
It was a knife.
And you said it was like a roommate situation with these three guys?
Yeah, some of it's unclear as we reopen the case, but there appears to be, the preliminary investigation show there might have been some, I don't know if you'd say drama, some issues between the roommates, maybe some jealousy, things like that had been going on. So there appeared to have been some issues, you know, with the roommates and as far as how they got along. So the general perception was that he was a viable suspect in the investigation, and he just disappeared. It's hard to track people when you've got somebody with that many names. You've got somebody that just disappears, and you know, whether it be without any tracking, you know, the ability to follow a social security number, telephone, things like that. So modern technology's really caught up from where we were 12 years ago, and being able to locate people and being able to put crimes together with, you know, DNA.
Do you have any details about how he was picked up by ICE? Or
We do not. We'll have to gather that information. Hopefully ICE can provide that. I'm sure as this story goes along, we'll be able to gather information from the federal side as far as how we got there. They contacted me, say 3 weeks ago, and the following week we sent the original case detective, went down and picked up a sample of his DNA and brought it back, and sent it to the lab, and it came back. It hit for fingernails and the murder weapon. So that's a pretty good start.
He's going to be extradited here to Indiana?
He will. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, he will face charges here.
Trial, or?
He will face charges here, you know, as to, I'm sure the prosecutor will give him the opportunity to set a trial.
And we see it, you know, as it was originally looked at as a criminal investigation, obviously, you look at homicides, any indication that that fire, you know, what started that? Was that intentional? Was it?
Yeah, I mean, it was investigated as arson. It was a very complicated crime scene that day. Most of us who were working during that time remember how gruesome it was. We had the issue of trying to stop the fire. We're dealing with the bodies. We're trying to conduct an investigation. The fire would start back up. The fire departments, you know, they're trying to do their job, and it was just it was a little bit chaotic. So, but it was, You know, there's a few cases that'll stick with you in your career. It was gruesome. You know, it's a brutal crime scene. You know, you have people stabbed hundreds of times. I mean, it's a career case for detectives. It's the kind of thing that if you're not able to get closure on, it's the kind of thing that could eat at you down the road. And for this detective who's intending on retiring soon, it's good closure for him, because that was the one unicorn case for him that, you know, I always wished and hoped you'd get closure on. And, you know, I have one from my years of investigating that I keep hoping will be solved, and I believe it will while I'm alive. But, you know, we all have that case that kind of seems to, you know, hit you in a different spot, and it's good. This is a good thing. It can show the public how far technology's gone, and hopefully it shows the criminals that there's very few places you can hide now.
Yeah, in the press release, I think it mentioned that no case is truly cold with the DNA and technology.
That's right.
So talk a little bit more in depth about the importance of that.
Well, I mean, what we have found in this particular case is we investigated this case on that day with the intentions of knowing that particular time technology may not have been there to do all the things we hoped it would do. We didn't have a suspect right out of the gate, but what we did was we collected evidence properly. We handled the investigation to where it would stand up over time. You know, it would stand the test of time. So when technology did get you there, you were able to put the case together. And you know, there's been a lot of cases in the past that you investigate for that moment. Well, if you may only have that moment to solve a case, and if you investigate a case properly, it should stand up over the test of time. And this case has. You know, I mean, it's been 12 years. 12 years. We had, you know, a gruesome murder that day that myself, Assistant Chief Van Winkle, he was actually a responding officer that day, still in uniform. You know, we had, you know, you go in and you see these crimes, you see something like this, that's the kind of thing that, you know, it just hits you. And so to have some closure down the road, and the reason you have closure to something like this is technology is helpful, but it's because you did things right the first time. You know, officers, detectives, everybody does things correctly. You've got a case that's 12 years old, and it's still, you can still close it. So we're proud of that.
What was the missing link, you know, where technology was able to catch up?
Well, the missing link was finding him. You know, there was two missing links. One, he was a person of interest, a suspect that, you know, it was kind of teeter in between. Was there the potential there that he could have been the third resident in the home and he was killed also? We look at that. You know, you look at all the different angles, but what we did know that he was gone, and we never found him. And so we list him as a person of interest, as a suspect, and when we get the information back, the other missing link is connecting him to the actual crime. And you go and you've collected DNA properly, you go through these crime scenes and you take DNA from places that the normal citizen wouldn't have any idea. You're taking fingernails. And you go take a fingernail and you get that tested, and there you go. Now you have a struggle. You have these guys are in a struggle. And so now you put that together. So you've got DNA that's linked it all. So the front end was the first hurdle was finding him. The second hurdle is connecting him to the actual crime. And thank God for modern technology.
So at that point, it's just the interagency databases, however those work.
That's right.
That's what's got you over the finish line.
That's right.
When did you all identify him as a suspect? Like, how quickly after?
It was, I mean, those first few days, and I'm, you know, of course, this is a long time ago. A lot of cases, a lot of things have went on since then. But it was, you know, you're immediately putting together a biology of your victims and potential suspects. And, you know, I would say over that first week or so, you know, you first off realize that there's a third person that lived there. You know, now you're trying to figure out if you're looking for him to save him or you're looking for him to locate him. And so you just prepare an investigation based on all those things. And just, you know, who would have thought it? It happened to be on some random weekday 12 years later that we get contacted and they've got him in an ICE detention center, set to be deported back to El Salvador. They basically gave us a week. If you want this guy, come get him, come see him, tell us what you want, So he was set to be deported on, I want to say it was like a Wednesday, and this was a Thursday that we found out. So, within the next 2 days, we have to get a detective down there. So, they have him held in a detention center, and we go check it out, ask them to hold him for a few more days while the lab's doing their work, and they handle their business, and we get a confirmation, and we call back down to ICE, and they're going to hold him so we can bring him back to face charges here.
Why not just let him get deported?
He's a killer. He's killed people here in the state of Indiana. I mean, we've earned the right, those victims earned the right, the hard way, for this guy to have to answer to those crimes. He got here at one point from El Salvador. What's to say he couldn't make it here again? So we can handle justice right here just fine.
How many officers do you have on staff now that were involved in this case?
That's a good question. I would say probably, I'd say 20 probably. It's probably, I think of our top 2 rows out there. It's probably about, we probably have 20 officers that were on the department, 12 years ago.
Did I hear you say correctly, we have the first officer on the scene?
He was one of the first officers on the scene.
Can we hear from you about what you saw and what you remember?
I was a patrolman. I responded to a fire. At that point, that's all I had. I didn't find out about the victims anything until later, because we were just there on the house fire. We didn't know. And it wasn't until later on in fire's investigation that he even found the victims. So when I was there, I had no clue what was going on inside other than the house was hot. That's it.
Yeah, we remind people that the first people to show up on fires are police officers. So we show up and we're in there looking to save people. And you run to a house and you have a fire, so it's you're going with the intentions of saving somebody. You're not running around thinking there's going to be 2 deceased people with monumental stab wounds. So.
Did the database or ICE tell you at all, like, how this guy got here? Did he, overstay a visa, or just,
No, I mean, we don't know, so I wouldn't want to totally speak to that, but it is, he's from El Salvador.
But he wasn't supposed to be here. Did you say he was?
No, I mean, he's been, the intentions were to send him back home, so my belief is he wasn't supposed to be here.
You talked about it a little bit, but what does it feel like to solve this case over a decade later?
Well, I've got one case of my own that I haven't got this feeling yet, so I hope that one day I get that feeling. I'm sure it's a sense of accomplishment. I was part of the General Detective Division when we had this crime and we worked that case, and it was. You just have some horrific scenes. We've had, there's been some locally over the past year or two that, I know they're dealing with one next door. We had one a couple years ago that was, amazingly enough, was probably worse than this one. There's been, in our line of work, we deal with this stuff, but the fact is when you are able to provide some level of justice, there's no justice. It's, these 2 men that lost their lives, they're not coming back. I mean, I hear justice, that term justice, all the time, but there's no justice for somebody that gets killed. I mean, all you can do is try to dish back the best you can, and what the law allows us to do. I mean, it's we have 2 people that lost their lives that there's no bringing them back. Bringing this guy to jail is not going to save them, not going to bring them back, but it's the best that we can do, and there is a sense of fulfillment.
Do you have any more details about the victims? With the original reporting that I was looking at, there really wasn't a whole lot about their background, but we knew they were, what they did for a living, that they were renting there, but
Yeah, the 3 of them lived together. I would be, my instincts tell me they were all Hispanic. I think they all might have been El Salvadorian, but I'm not certain. But it was hard to get a lot of background when you got people in an area that are somewhat loners, you know, and it's hard to find. Like right now, we had a small amount of connection to next of kin, victims' family, things like that. And we are right now, the reason we're not releasing names of the victims is because we want to make sure we have the opportunity. We have translators, we have people that are calling, trying to figure out next of kin, people that we can, you know, hopefully can get us the opportunity to at least tell the family members that, hey, we've got our guy. If that helps you sleep a little bit, then, you know, we're glad to tell you that we've got our guy.
Any chance that they might not want to be done?
Well, I mean, you know, they can tell us no, but we can't make that decision. I mean, we have to try to make notification every chance we get.
When you picked up that phone call, what was your initial reaction?
Well,
You said it was just in the middle of the week, you know, just another day.
it was, I don't know. Everybody's probably dealing with the spam calls so bad. When you get an out-of-district number, you're hesitant to answer. So I don't really know. You know, we get so many phone calls of serious nature. When I got it, that I just assumed they had something for me, and they told me who they were, and it really took a second for it to kind of jar my memory, and then I know it was the same, you know, all these things start going through your mind. So, you know, it's a case that's been out of your mind for a while. All of a sudden the memories start popping in, and, you know, I remember what I was doing the night before, and, you know, I was out working late chasing drug dealers, and got called that morning and woke up and said, need you out here, we've got a double murder. So, you know, things like that were, you know, all those memories start flooding back. So I can't really imagine the first responders, the people that were there initially, and similarly with, you know, the detectives that, you know, worked around the clock for days to try to put a case together to locate a suspect.
What was your, because I know we heard from you, what was your first name and title?
James.
James.
James Van Winkle, Assistant Chief.
Got it, just so we got it.
Yep, you got it.
Well, we got anything else? We feel.
Saw one of the people in the Facebook comments today, he was like, I was just thinking about this. Like, it just kind of creeped into the back of their mind like a week ago. Like, do you feel like this is going to bring some peace to people, like, at least knowing that guy's not out?
It should. I mean, it's, you know, I think our community in itself has a lot of confidence in the police department and our officers that we are driven. I think there's very little doubt amongst our Clarksville community that what we're capable of, and you know, and I think this should, you know, build more credit with that confidence that, you know, we get that phone call and we hopped right on it. And so, you know, we figuring out who was going to drive to Florida or drive to Georgia line and collect DNA. So it's, you know,
Big effort.
it's thrilled to do it. So, anything else? Feel good? All right. Thank you.
Congrats.
We're excited.
All right, folks, a lot of good information coming from Clarksville Police and how they were able to connect the dots with the help of ICE, connecting a suspect to a double homicide that happened in Clarksville in 2013. So Wave News reporter David Mattingly is on this story for us, and he's going to have much more coming up later here on Wave News. I'm Myra Ansari. I'll see you later here.